Good morning. It's about 10 o'clock, so we are going to get the webinar started. So today we're doing a webinar on Introduction to Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. My name is Scott Hannan. I am a clinical psychologist. I'll tell you a little bit about my background, and then I'll tell you about the webinar we're going to do today. I specialize in cognitive behavioral therapy. Specifically, the majority of the work that I do focuses on anxiety disorders and major depressive disorder. I also work with OC spectrum disorders such as trichotillomania. So those are the majority of the work that I do right now. I work at a psychiatric hospital in Connecticut. So when I do talk about times, be aware that I'm talking about Eastern Standard Time. I work with both children and adults. The talk today is primarily going to focus on cognitive behavioral therapy for adults, although there are certain parts where I will talk a little bit about CBT for children as well. Specifically, there'll be a section of the talk today where I'm going to talk about contingency management. Behavior therapy is really, I think, grown, so the majority of the work we're doing is really cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is where I think we move beyond what Skinner was saying, and Skinner was pretty much saying, hey, let's just focus on what we can observe. But what we're seeing with the addition of cognitive therapy is that we can actually work with internal experiences. We shouldn't just write those off, that there are internal experiences with which we can work. Now, granted, a lot of it still comes down to we're going to observe what the person's saying and what they're doing, but cognitive therapy brought more about we're looking at a connection not just between behavior and response, but also connection between thoughts and emotions. It's looking beyond just behavioral principles and trying to really look at internal cognitive events that are associated with changes in emotion. So in the picture here, we have someone who's in front of an audience, and we know that social phobia is an extremely common issue, and not necessarily the diagnosis of social phobia, but even just in a very general sense. Not everybody's going to meet the diagnostic criteria for social anxiety, but a lot of people have social anxiety, where just to be in front of an audience is going to bring on fear. So in this example, the person is thinking to himself, what if I say something stupid and everyone laughs at me? So that fear now is going to be connected up to an emotion. When you look at our thought process, I think it's really important to understand that internal events can have a really significant emotional impact. Just by thinking about events really can create emotional reactions. I guess the way that I think about it is, have you ever had an event where, let's say you're waiting for a friend, and they're supposed to meet you, let's say it's at 7 o'clock, you're supposed to meet outside of a restaurant. You're going to go get a couple of drinks. You're waiting there at 7 o'clock, person doesn't show up. Okay, maybe they're a little bit late. 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes goes by. Let me call them, let's see where they are. You call, there's no answer on the phone. Another 10 or 15 minutes goes by, now it's 7:30. Now we're starting to worry. Are they okay? You call them, they don't answer the phone. You call their house, they don't answer their phone. You call their work, they don't answer their phone. Now you start thinking, are they okay? Were they in an accident? Did something happen to them? And so now that we're thinking about it, we start having an emotional reaction. We can visualize this. We almost visualize that the person's in the accident, and our body starts to react as if that's exactly what happened. Then what happens, they pull up, it's 40 minutes late, they get out of their car, I am so sorry, I got stuck in traffic, my cell phone battery died, I couldn't get a hold of you. And then our emotions start to get alleviated. Still may be kind of tense there, but we're feeling a little bit better. But just that thought, that envisioning that something was going wrong, can bring upon an emotional reaction.